You don't have mood swings. You have soul signals trying to speak through your body. You thought it was just the sun playing tricks on your eyes. A strange shimmer, a flash of green where there was once hazel, or that deepening blue when emotions run high. But what if I told you your eyes changing color in sunlight isn't just a genetic quirk? It's a message, a whisper from your aura, a flicker from your unconscious, a spiritual flare sent from the self, revealing more than you'd like to admit. You're not just reacting to light, you're being called by it. And most people spend their entire lives missing that call. This isn't about eye candy. It's about Carl Jung's most unsettling truth, that what we see outside is often the projection of what we've buried inside. That your gaze, your eye color, even the quality of your stare, can carry the residue of karmic memory, shadow work, or soul transformation. Across spiritual traditions, eye shifts have been taken as omens, signs of psychic awakening, energetic alignment, or ancestral presence. But we've been taught to ignore the sacred and worship the explainable. So we never ask the question that really matters. What does my gaze try to tell me about who I'm becoming? In this video, you won't just learn why some eyes change color in sunlight. You'll uncover what it means. Through the lens of Jungian psychology, ancient mysticism, and subtle energy wisdom, we'll decode what's actually happening when your gaze shifts. Because once you understand the symbolism, the archetypes, and the soul mechanics behind this phenomenon, you'll never look in the mirror the same way again. This is about reclaiming your perception, about seeing the hidden truth through your own reflection, and learning to read the messages your soul has been trying to send you all along. The mystery of eye color and light. There's something quietly mystical about how eyes shift color when sunlight hits them just right. That soft hazel turning bright green, or a stormy gray shimmering into icy blue. It's not just biology at play. The iris is a living membrane, responsive to subtle changes in light, mood, and internal chemistry. To the modern mind, that might sound like a trick of optics. But ancient cultures had a different take. These shifts were whispers from the soul. In their view, sunlight didn't just illuminate, it revealed. The eye became a spiritual barometer, exposing moments of awakening, shifts in perception, and thresholds of transformation. Let's pause there for a second. You've probably seen someone whose eye color seems to morph depending on where they stand, what they feel, or even who they're speaking to. And sure, we could chalk it up to melanin and reflection. But if you've ever locked eyes with someone during a moment of raw truth, grief, love, realization, you felt it. Their entire aura changes. Their gaze deepens. That's not optics. That's consciousness in motion. It's the subtle energy field at play, quietly broadcasting from the soul. Carl Jung might say that you're witnessing the self announcing itself, briefly pushing past the mask of persona. There's a reason we describe people as having light in their eyes. That light isn't metaphorical. It's the spiritual meaning embedded in their very presence. When sunlight hits the eye and something flickers, something you can't quite explain, it's like a veil lifting. Jung called it the confrontation with the shadow, or the anima. A brief, radiant glimpse into someone's inner life, a moment where the mind, the body, and the psyche align like planets. And what does that mean practically? It means you should start paying attention to the light, not just outside you, but within. Here's something wild you can actually try. The next time you're outside with someone you love or trust, take a deep breath and look into their eyes without trying to read them. Don't analyze, just perceive. Watch what changes. You might catch a shimmer, a shift, a pulse. That's not just biology. That's symbolic communication through the human eye. This is what mystics understood when they spoke of the gaze of the enlightened. It's why saints, yogis, and artists were said to possess eyes that saw through you. It wasn't poetry. It was energy perception made visible. So if your eyes, or someone else's, seem to change in sunlight, it might not be something to ignore. It might be the soul waving hello. Maybe it's an echo of a past self trying to be remembered. Or maybe it's a quiet invitation to step further into your own awareness. Because sometimes, light doesn't just illuminate. Sometimes it transforms. And it's through the eyes, those tiny, living portals, that the next truth begins to reveal itself. Symbolism of the eyes in spiritual traditions. Across nearly every culture that's ever walked this earth, the eyes hold sacred weight. They're more than just organs of sight. They're mirrors of the soul, as the old saying goes. But that phrase isn't poetic fluff. It's metaphysical philosophy, wrapped in plain language. In Egyptian art, the eye of Horus wasn't just symbolic. It was protection, perception, and cosmic balance incarnate. In Eastern mysticism, the third eye represents intuition and spiritual sight. Even in everyday language, we say, "I saw it in their eyes," as if their gaze holds the truth before their words do. It's not just romanticism. It's ancient wisdom encoded in everyday speech. When someone's eye color subtly shifts, especially during emotional or spiritual moments, it can trigger a deep, almost primal reaction in others. It's not that the color change itself holds power. It's that it represents a change in state, an inner opening. In many traditions, this would signal a psychic awakening, the moment when the soul pierces through the mask of ego and says, "I'm here." Mystics from Sufism to Taoism have written about this silent force behind the gaze. They believe the eyes could awaken or disarm, transmit blessings or expose illusions. That kind of transmission bypasses language. It's subtle energy in pure form. Think about it. Have you ever met someone whose eyes made you feel like they already knew something about you? Not in a creepy way, but in a timeless, "oh, I see you" kind of way. That's what spiritual traditions mean when they say the eyes carry imprints of karmic memory. Maybe they're not reading your thoughts, but they're attuned to your field, your aura, your pain, your essence. Carl Jung would have said you're projecting aspects of your shadow or anima onto them. But maybe, just maybe, they're holding up a mirror on purpose. Maybe their soul is whispering to yours in a language only the subconscious understands. The gaze isn't just passive, it acts. It carries weight. It changes things. Shamans, energy healers, and monks have all emphasized the power of intentional gaze. Not staring, not analyzing, just being present through the eyes. In practical terms, this is why eye contact during meditation, therapy, or deep conversations can feel electric. It's why some people feel stripped bare when looked at with kindness or intensity. If you want to experiment with this, try maintaining soft eye contact with yourself in the mirror for 5 minutes. No judgment, just witnessing. You might be shocked at what rises to the surface. So, when someone tells you there was something in their eyes, don't brush it off. They're touching a lineage older than language. They're tuning into the spiritual frequency that pulses beneath our everyday perception. And if the eyes truly are windows to the soul, what happens when the curtains shift just enough to let the light pour in? Let's ask someone who made a lifetime of studying those inner thresholds. Carl Jung and the projection of the soul. Carl Jung didn't look at the human gaze as a surface-level exchange. He saw it as an invitation into the psyche's deepest theater. In his view, when we look into someone's eyes, we're not just seeing them. We're often confronting a reflection of ourselves. our shadow, our anima, even our forgotten longings, all projected unconsciously. The mind uses the eyes like a canvas, painting meaning where there might be none, yet revealing truths we can't ignore. Jungian psychoanalysis teaches us that these projections aren't just psychological quirks, they're clues. Clues pointing toward our individuation, the path to becoming whole. Have you ever caught someone's gaze and suddenly felt exposed? Not just seen, but felt like they'd reached into your chest and pulled something out you didn't know you were carrying? That moment could have been a projection coming to the surface. According to Jung, the intensity you felt might have been yourself calling you to attention through another person's face. It's in these fleeting encounters, eyes locking during arguments, intimacy, or deep silence, that archetypes reveal themselves. You're not just in conversation, you're participating in a myth. The eyes become the portal where transformation is proposed, whether you're ready or not. Here's where it gets even stranger. Eye color shifts during these moments of intensity might not be random. Some psychologists and energy workers suggest this could be a mirror effect of the psyche, a visual echo of inner tension, energetic openness, or spiritual breakthrough. In simpler terms, when your soul is on fire, the eyes might flicker with that light. It's why lovers describe each other's eyes as changing during passion, why a grieving person's gaze becomes hollow, or why a spiritual teacher's eyes seem to glow. It's not illusion, it's expression. It's soul light pushing through the body, trying to be seen. In Jungian therapy, eye contact isn't just encouraged, it's diagnostic. A client who avoids the therapist's gaze may be hiding from the shadow. One who locks eyes too intensely might be lost in projection. These subtle behaviors offer a map of the inner life, and a skilled analyst reads them like signs on a mythological road. For those exploring their own consciousness, this offers something practical. Start paying attention to your emotional state when eye contact shifts. Does something feel pulled from you? Is the gaze soothing, confronting, familiar, or alien? Each response is a breadcrumb toward the self. Jung once wrote that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid confronting their soul. But sometimes, that confrontation doesn't happen in a dream or a book. Sometimes, it happens when someone looks at you and something ancient stirs. And if light truly reveals the unconscious, then maybe sunlight's effect on the eyes is no accident. Maybe it's the soul saying, look closer. You're not done yet. And to truly look closer, we have to ask, what is this light we keep encountering, both outside and within? Light as a metaphor for awareness. Light has always been more than just a physical phenomenon. It's a symbol carved deep into the human psyche. Every spiritual tradition, from Gnostic mysticism to Buddhist philosophy, uses light as a stand-in for awareness, for the expansion of consciousness. And isn't it curious that sunlight itself can cause a physical reaction in the eyes, those portals of the soul? When someone's eye color shifts under the sun, it's not just a scientific quirk. It's a reminder, a visual metaphor that something hidden is being illuminated. The eye reacts to light much like the mind reacts to truth. It adjusts, it reveals, it transforms. Think about how Carl Jung viewed enlightenment, not as achieving perfection, but as making the darkness conscious. That's what light does. It doesn't sanitize, it exposes. So, when someone's gaze transforms in the presence of sunlight, it's like witnessing a flash of psychic alchemy. Their human mind, usually cloaked in persona, reveals a glimpse of the inner self. Just as a camera lens adjusts to brightness, so does the psyche. In these moments, a person isn't just being seen, they're showing themselves, however briefly, in a more crystalline form. There's an old alchemical symbol, gold emerging from blackness, that Jung often referenced in his studies. It mirrors what light does to the soul. It purifies through exposure. Eye color shifts in sunlight might be the subtle external echo of that same transmutation. You don't need a lab or a ritual, just a moment of presence. This is why mystics often describe their breakthroughs not in words, but in light, a flash, a gleam, a radiance. It's not just poetics. It's the only language they had for something the intellect couldn't grasp. The change was seen, not spoken. If you want to explore this practically, try sitting in morning sunlight with your eyes open, not staring but soft gazing, and observe your own face in a mirror. Do it in silence, with full presence. Watch what changes, not just in color, but in feeling. The light might expose something in you that you've been avoiding, an emotion, a truth, a longing. The spiritual meaning of these changes isn't in the color itself, but in what that shift invites you to feel. Light stirs the inner dialogue. It calls the unconscious to the stage. It says, you've got more to see. And so, perhaps the true power of sunlight isn't in its warmth, but in its ability to stir awareness, to wake the soul from its sleep. And when it hits the eyes, those tiny, sacred spheres of perception, it doesn't just change what you see, it changes who you are. But for that to happen fully, something else has to participate, something even more subtle, more ethereal, something like the aura. The role of aura and subtle energies. Now we're entering the realm that science tiptoes around, but mystics have danced in for centuries. The aura, that subtle, invisible field of energy surrounding every living being, said to shift, expand, dim, or glow based on your emotional and spiritual state. When someone's eye color seems to change unexpectedly, some say it's not just the iris responding, it's the aura broadcasting. The eyes, being energetically sensitive, reflect these vibrational currents like tiny prisms. It's as if the light bends differently depending on what the soul is trying to express in that moment. What's hidden in the aura speaks through the gaze. Sensitive individuals, empaths, intuitives, artists, healers, often report seeing or sensing these shifts. One moment someone's eyes appear dull or heavy. The next, they sparkle like starlight. This isn't about aesthetics. It's about resonance. When someone enters alignment with their inner self, even briefly, their entire energetic signature adjusts. And yes, the eyes can reflect this change. Carl Jung understood these moments as glimpses of transformation. Not permanent yet, but cracks in a shell, like lightning in the dark. Fleeting, but unmistakably real. These changes can occur during moments of clarity, truth, or spiritual awakening. Picture someone finally releasing a burden they've carried for years through breath work, prayer, journaling, or even just a deeply honest conversation. Their eye color doesn't just shift because of the light, it shifts because they have. The aura has recalibrated. The soul has spoken. The eyes answer by shining a little differently. This is where psychoanalysis meets practical philosophy, when the transformation of consciousness leaves a visible fingerprint. Here's something you can try. If you've ever practiced energy work, like Reiki or chakra meditation, set an intention next time to observe your eyes before and after. Use natural light. Pay attention not just to color, but to quality. Does your gaze feel heavier, lighter, softer? Aura shifts aren't just visual, they're felt. They carry emotional temperature. Even friends who aren't spiritual might comment, "Wow, you look different." That's the language of subtle energy being translated through perception, auras speak, and the eyes are the microphone. So maybe we've been looking at it all backwards. Maybe eye color changes aren't anomalies. Maybe they're messages, echoes of a soul in motion, mid-transformation. And now that we've explored the physical, symbolic, psychological, and energetic meanings of these shifts, maybe it's time to ask what they're really trying to tell us, especially in a world that rarely stops to see. You've been looking at your own eyes your whole life, but have you ever really seen what they're showing you? Maybe those color shifts weren't random. Maybe that strange glow in someone's gaze wasn't just lighting. It was their soul reaching out. The deeper you go, the more obvious it becomes. Your perception isn't broken. It's just been trained to ignore the spiritual. But now that you know, what will you do with that awareness? Will you keep brushing off the signs, or finally start listening to what your aura, your energy, yourself has been trying to express through your gaze? Let this be your turning point. Instead of seeing eye color as a biological glitch, treat it like a spiritual indicator. The next time you look in the mirror or into someone else's eyes, ask yourself, what energy am I bringing to this moment? What is my gaze saying that my words aren't? If you're feeling called to go deeper, try tracking your own shifts, emotionally, energetically, even photographically. Journal the days you notice changes. Connect them with your feelings, your experiences, your dreams. Let your own eyes become your spiritual feedback loop. Now it's your move. You've just been handed a powerful tool, one that few understand, but everyone possesses. So what are you going to do with it? Are you ready to use your gaze as a gateway instead of just a glance? Leave a comment below and tell me what you have seen that you couldn't explain. And if you're ready to keep decoding the mysteries of consciousness, perception, and transformation, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Your soul's been waiting for you to notice. It's time to start seeing for real.